2020 sucked.
I went down to the river, I fell on my knees, I bathed in the muddy water, set my soul free. And my blues, all my blues were washed away. And my
Nice
blues,
fish. It's like third
all
cast.
my blues were washed away.
What's up YouTube? It's JL Folks from Road Angler TV. Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk about my top 5 biggest bass of 2020. 2020 was actually a really great year for me for fishing. Besides music being terrible and having to put that aside, I was able to get out on the lake a lot this year and catch a lot of really great bass. And I got to fish Lake Seminole too, which was pretty awesome. But I've got 5 of my videos here popped up that I think I caught some of the biggest bass in. So we're going to go back and watch those moments and just do a little reaction video of the whole situation, what I was using, where it was, and just talk about the whole experience. So stay tuned, y'all. Alright, here we have my first video. This one was out on Percy Priest Lake. I'm guessing, yeah, it was March 26, 2020. So this was right in the prime time of spring. Right here you could see my good friend Trip Howell. He's the drummer of Lanco. This was the day that I met Trip out on Percy Priest. He's out there all the time fishing. He's a great angler actually, but pretty famous drummer in the country world. Pretty awesome band he's in called Lanco. But he told me to fish up against this wall and said that these bass were probably stacked up on it. So I decided to throw a big jig, and it ended up paying off. So yeah, right there, Trip just caught a bass. I think it was like on a spinnerbait or something. And I was throwing spinnerbait that whole day and couldn't get anything. But right after this was when I caught this bass. As you can see the wall on the side there, I threw this jig, big football jig, and sure enough, felt a little tap. Took a second for him to hit it, but I think he started swimming off with it. Yeah, I felt something right there. Boom. Set that hook. That bass wasn't going anywhere. Got a good hook set on him. For some reason, man, these bass at Percy Priest, they definitely fight harder than I think anywhere I've caught bass. Even the small ones fight super hard. This was on my Vibe Yellowfin 120. Ended up selling this kayak to a good friend of mine named Jeremy. I didn't have a scale, but I think this one was like probably close to 5 pounds. It was real thick. They've been feeding real well for spring. But that's a good bass for Percy Priest right there. Yeah, I measure him here. I think it was like 18. $17. If it wasn't 5, it was a big 4-pounder. It was real thick. That's a good spring bass there. Alright, so on to the next video. Now, this one is a hybrid bass, but I definitely had to include this one because it was definitely the biggest hybrid I definitely wanted to include this one because it's definitely the biggest hybrid bass I've ever caught. And this was definitely a big surprise. I was fishing with my buddy Adair, and this is the only time I fished with this guy. He ended up selling this bass boat shortly after this. I don't know if he's still fishing or not, but he took me out on Percy Priest, and we caught a bunch of fish that day, but this was a real surprise right here. I'm throwing a white spinnerbait. It was super windy and choppy that day. It would have been impossible to fish out on the kayak. Boom. Hit that spinnerbait on top water. And when it first hit the spinnerbait, we thought it was probably like a 10-pound bass or something. But definitely took my time with this one. Didn't want to lose him. We knew we had a big fish on. Look, he's already got the net. He's ready to net him. As soon as he saw it hit it, man, he was like, that's a good one, that's a good one. And it was. I'd never seen a hybrid bass this big.
Wow. Dude, holy crap.
We thought it was a 10-pounder. It definitely had the size of a 10-pounder.
Oh my god, guys. Look at this fish. I was not expecting this at all. Dude, this is a freaking pig, dude.
I mean, it looks big in the video, but in person, I feel like it was just so much bigger. Like that was probably the biggest fish I've caught out of Percy Priest. Biggest bass. You can hear the wind. It was so choppy that day. Spinnerbait was really the only thing we were getting them on. I think Ned rig too, but
It's like a 10-pound hybrid.
that was a big fish. I'd love to catch another one of those. So much fun. But it was so windy that we couldn't even get a good measurement, a good weight on the fish because the wind was just like messing with us so bad. But it hit 8 pounds. So we knew it was right around 8 pounds. That's my PB hybrid bass right there. That thing was huge.
Drop him down. He's ready to go. Dude, heck yeah, man.
All right. Next video. So this fish I also caught on Percy Priest Lake, and I remember I set the GoPro in the front to record instead of the back using the boomstick. I was using the Camera Boom 600 for this one, but wanted to catch a different angle for this fish, and I had caught probably like 5 bass before this one, and this was a nice surprise. This was my first big smallmouth out of Percy Priest. And here I'm using a Ned rig, but with a pack of craw on it. Alabama craw. But I got this fish in the boat so quick. I couldn't believe how quick I got him in the boat. Especially how big he was. He just like came right in the net. And this is probably the most beautiful smallmouth that I've ever caught. This thing had amazing patterns on it. It was a tiger fish for sure. This is a really nice smallmouth. Yeah, I saw this guy in a john boat not too far from me and wanted to see if he had a scale because I never carry a scale around. I've had them in the boat before and they get wet and stop working. So usually I just carry around the hog trough. But this guy didn't have a scale either, but he got a couple pictures for me and stuff. He's a super nice guy.
This is the biggest smallie I've ever caught. By far.
And I thought this was the biggest smallie I had ever caught, but I actually caught a 19 and a half a few months before this one. And that was my biggest smallie. But this was a big one. I thought it was bigger than 18 inches, but it was right at 18. But super nice fish. Let's look at the patterns on it. Looks so nice. Yeah, right at 18.
Yeah. Oh, you get one for me? Oh, that'd be great, man. Yeah, that's good.
Amazing fish. Gotta love these smallies and their patterns. I'll take smallmouth any day. I think they're my favorite fish to catch. They're kind of elusive, and I don't catch a whole lot of them. It's like I catch one smallmouth for every 20 largemouth I catch. But that was my first big smallmouth out on Percy Priest.
I like it, man. Alright, guys, we're gonna let this smallmouth, nice smallie go.
It was a good one. Alright, next video. Now this was another really great smallie back out on Percy Priest. And this was right at the end of summer. And it was super hot just about every day that I went out fishing. I was hardly getting anything. I was getting a couple dinks. But this morning I got up probably like 4 or 5 a.m. and got out there way before the sun came out and was getting topwater bites on the whopper plopper left and right. And right before I caught this one, I had a huge blow up and I had a big fish on, and it was probably another giant smallie. But this one right here was quite the surprise. So I'm using a white whopper plopper. Boom. You can see he's like turning the boat. And the problem I had here was I kind of underestimated this fish. I was bringing him in too quick. I should have let him fight a little bit. But right there, he jumped in the boat with that whopper plopper, and I thought I was going to hook my leg. It was a miracle that I didn't, because he just torpedoed right in the boat, and then right there my rod snapped. And I've had that rod for years. That's an Arc Invoker rod, my best rod. I just can't believe that he snapped it. I've caught way bigger fish on that rod, and the way that smallie just charged into the boat, I didn't even know the rod was broken at that point. I was just like in shock. But really nice smallie right there. But pretty depressing once I noticed that the rod had snapped. I still miss that rod, and I may try to go for the warranty on it still.
My God, what a fight, man. I'm about to put him on the board. This is probably 18 or 19 inch.
I guess it was right at 18.
Like 18. See, right at 18.
Yeah, right at 18.
Awesome. Man, this one was a fighter. I love catching smallmouth. It's been a minute.
I do love catching smallmouth. I can see some blood on my knee. I guess that's from the whopper plopper.
Wow, it snapped
Film.
my rod.
So this is when I just noticed that my rod snapped. I didn't even know.
That thing snapped my rod.
I'm still depressed about that.
Man, that's one of my better rods.
That was my favorite rod. That was my jig rod.
That was crazy.
That was another nice Percy Priest smallmouth. Not as fat as the last one, but that one fought a lot harder than the last one. This one fought. This was the craziest smallmouth fight I think I'd ever had. Those things are just, they're beasts. Look how fast it took off. Alright, next video. Alright, now we're going to Lake Seminole. So, this one was caught on my birthday, actually, my 30th birthday. I went to Lake Seminole with my family and my girlfriend and spent my 30th birthday out on Lake Seminole. And on this day, I had gone out with a guide with my dad. My girlfriend bought that for me for my 30th birthday. And this guy, Paul Tyre, with Lake Seminole Fishing Adventures, took me out on his pontoon, actually, and it was just like a perfect boat for this lake. And we're up right when the sun was coming up and throwing some top water. And it was really strange because I've always gotten bass on the top toad. That was kind of my go-to frog. And for some reason, they just didn't like the action on it, and they didn't like the fast reaction of the frog, and they wanted just a little tick. It was really strange, and it was a learning curve for me, and it ended up paying off for this bass right here. And the audio is kind of weird on this one because I was doing some different tests with a new microphone I had gotten, and I didn't have the microphone directed on me, so it was kind of weird. It didn't come out the way I wanted. But this is probably my second biggest bass that I've ever caught. And the day before this, I caught my PB, which is the next video, but this is a nice bass on top water here. And tons of vegetation, just popping this frog, just giving it little ticks. And we had several blow-ups, but not a whole lot of, we didn't stick a whole lot of them. Boom, there it goes. It's hard to see, but it was a big blow up. And it's weird throwing a frog on a spinning rod. This guy had a spinning rod for me, so it's quite the learning curve. But this bass fought really good. Boom. Nice largemouth. He choked this frog. It was a little tiny frog we were throwing. Freaking choked it. That was a real good start to my birthday right there. And we ended up putting this one on the scale, and it was right at 6 pounds. But a little frog we were throwing, a little popper frog. This guy, Paul Tyre, with Lake Seminole Fishing Adventures, is the guy to call if you're ever out on Lake Seminole looking for a guide. This guy knows his stuff. And we were there at a weird time. We're dog days of summer, which are probably the worst time of the year to fish out on that lake. But I still caught some really great bass. It's a great fishery. It's definitely some big gators out there too. Tons of vegetation. But nice 6 pounder right here. Alright, next video. Now this bass right here I also caught on Lake Seminole, and this was the day before my birthday. So this was the day before the last video, and I had went out on my kayak, and I only caught 2 bass that day. I caught one on a speed worm, and it was a nice like 18 and a half, 19-inch largemouth, which was a really nice bass. And then I went hours with nothing. It was just so hard to fish this lake because of so much vegetation. And I ended up going down this like little canal and was throwing around the baby bull shad. Decided to tie it on last minute, and it ended up paying off in a huge way. And this was really an unexpected catch, and this is my current largemouth PB. I was going through this tunnel and did a cast right outside of this tunnel, and I had turned the GoPro off, and like I said, I wasn't expecting this. It had been a really tough day of fishing, and I was getting frustrated, and this just ended up making the day. Right here.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I couldn't believe how big this bass was.
There's our new PB, guys.
This is definitely the biggest bass I had ever caught.
Oh my god, guys.
And on the baby bull shad too, like it doesn't get much better than that.
Just broke my PB.
He didn't really fight that hard, which was kind of surprising. You know, it's funny, like this video really doesn't give this fish justice. It was a big fish. I was just really surprised how big this fish was.
And the baby bull shad, too. How awesome is that? This one's a freaking giant. 21 inches. 21 and a quarter.
21 and a quarter. So I'm guessing this one was like 6 and a half. It was pretty chunky too. I know that last fish I had caught in the last video was definitely over 6 pounds, and this one I think was bigger. I just remember it being a big fish. But that was the whole highlight of the trip right there, that bass. Catching him on the kayak too, on the baby bull shad. Didn't get much better than that. Something about catching fish out on the kayak, just so much fun. I have so much more fun than out on a boat. I like going for the sleigh ride. Alright guys, so that is my top 5 biggest bass of 2020. Hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely looking forward to getting out and doing some more fishing in the new year. It's currently wintertime, and it's really cold here in Tennessee. So hoping that the fishing gets a little better. I haven't been out in a couple months actually out on Percy Priest. I've been super busy with music because music's kind of been opening up again, and I've been working on my other YouTube channel, my artist channel, trying to get it monetized, so trying to get that watch time up. So I've been putting out videos on that channel just about every other day. I'm also in the process of selling my Sea Ghost, so I plan on selling that, and then I'm going to be ordering a new canoe. So I'm really looking forward to getting in a new canoe. I've been wanting to get in one for a while. I've got some buddies that are on the team, and yeah, I already picked out the kayak I want to order, and I'm going to leave that as a surprise, and hopefully have that pretty soon. So stay tuned, y'all. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.